Welcome to Championship Culture. Got a fantastic guest for you tonight. Phillip Richards is the assistant head coach and O-line coach at Effingham County. Phillip is a good friend of mine, been friends for a long time. When I think of Phillip, work ethic, loyalty, one of the best weight room guys I've ever been around. He's got an old school football brain and but a great heart for kids. And I used to call him the Pied Piper. I'd see him in the weight room where he would just win over every kid in the weight room and just motivate them to work at unbelievably high levels. And so I've always been super impressed with him in that regard. He's a man of faith, a family man, and just an awesome person. And Phillip, I appreciate you coming on tonight and doing the podcast for me. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to stealing your ideas, man. So let's jump into it. Question number one: can you give a 1-minute elevator introduction of yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. First and foremost, I'm a Christian, and I strive to walk, worthy of that calling on my life daily. And of course, fall short daily. Doesn't mean I'm perfect whatsoever. It just means I'm saved. And so I try to keep that in mind in everything I do. I try to keep that up front in everything I do. I'm married to my best friend, PJ. We've been married 26 plus years. We have 3 children, 2 girls, one's 28, one's 24. They're both married, so got them off the payroll. We get a check mark there. So we have one son. He's 16. He's in high school, sophomore in high school. We got 2 grandsons, and we got another one on the way. So we got a ton of them here. We got a full house around us here. So we've been very blessed in that aspect. Just finished my 30th year coaching football. I see a lot of coaches getting out before 30 years, a lot of people retiring. I've had a lot of people, I was asked this year, why are you still doing it? And I started writing some things down, and I came up with the fact that, I'm driven by that passion for the game. But much more importantly, I just really feel like I have a calling on my life to use that passion to build young men and to be a positive impact on my community and my not only my family, but the community my family lives in, my school, and share those blessings.
That's awesome, man. I forgot to mention you've been an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, and a head coach in different stops. So you packed a lot of experience into that 30 years. Question number 2, how do you define culture in your program?
Well, culture, when we think culture, that's anything that's a belief, a norm, a value that's shared by any group or any entity, any family, any community, any country, any team whatsoever. But I think the big thing is the collective part of that they all share and believe in that, and they're all known for that, and they're all identified with that. So when I think about that, we're all going to be known for something. And the fact that you're a leader, I'm the leader of my house, you're the leader of your house, the head coach, the principal, the mayor, whoever, that leadership's going to create that culture, whether it's good or bad. And that's what you're going to be known for. That's what you're going to be about. That's going to be who you are, even more so than who you are sometimes. And I think about that, and I think about, leadership creates that behavior, and then that behavior creates your outcome or your results. And I think when it comes down to it in any situation, and definitely just like your family at home and any football team, it's who you are. What are you about? What are you, it's a snapshot. You can look at a team, you can look at a family, you can look at a community and know almost instantly what their values are. Where do they put their emphasis? Where do they put their stamp? What do they hang their hat on? So,
I think you nailed it, man. I'm huge on that whole concept of, leadership creates culture, culture creates behavior, behavior
hmm
creates results.
hmm
And, you
hmm
know, I've been guilty in the past of getting too focused on the results, and it just makes you chase your tail.
hmm
That if you focus
and
on it.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that as a young coach. Made a lot of mistakes and got the cart before the horse on that. And looking back, it's just crystal clear what the mistakes were, 20 plus years ago. And I just, honest to goodness, didn't put first things first. And it's kind of funny how God's got a plan and he's got it worked out in just the right order, the way things are supposed to be. So, yeah, exactly. I know where you're coming from.
And it's just so crystal clear looking back, how miserable it is when you get in that situation where you're just chasing results, how miserable your day to
Yes.
day is. And then when you get
Yes.
into the situation where you get your mind right and you're chasing building the culture and building the behaviors, it's like
Yes.
an unstoppable momentum gets
Mhm.
created. And it's just, then I always look back and kick myself, how come I didn't understand that,
Yeah.
15 years ago?
Right. Right. Yeah, I look at myself and say, well, what in the world were you thinking there? And it's so rewarding. Um, it pays off dividends in people. And it's like you said, it's kind of that ball kind of gets rolling and it's overwhelming how good it is to be a part of those blessings.
When you said people, I remember one of your stops. I came and visited you one time, and I always thought you and PJ uh, make such a good team as far as building relationships in the building, and you just had a super positive vibe in the whole building, and I know it was mainly because of her, because she's a people person, but you guys just you
Yeah,
you
I
make
was
such
going
a
to say
great
that.
team. Yeah. But
Yeah,
you
and
made a
and
great team on building that, even inside the building with the teachers I'm talking about, with the staff. I could
Mhm,
feel how you
mhm.
guys had kind of built that culture.
But in that part of it, that's, and early on I didn't understand that, but that is part of it. That they're all invested, they're all stakeholders. And um, it takes a special wife. It takes special kids to get drug all over the state, to see dad maybe even get fired, to have to pack up that house, and it takes special people. And I just, I don't know. I, I honestly feel sad for the people that don't get to experience the things you and I get to experience, because how much better, are we now? How much better as fathers are we now? How much better at husband? How much better a teacher are we now from those experiences? So,
And I'm just sitting
I
here
mean,
as you're
it's
talking. I'm remembering. I'm just realizing how much impact you've had on me over the years. I remember one time, and I've used this quote a bunch of times, when you said, I'm a coach, my wife's a coach, my kids are coaches. It's what we do. It's what our whole family does. Is we're coaches.
yeah,
We impact where we're
yeah.
at. And I
I,
still
I
use
mean, I
that.
believe that. But you got to be, because they're in it with you. They're in it every day. I mean, during football season, we don't eat supper before 8:30. It's not going to happen. I mean, um, you know, they're in it with you every day. I mean, they feel it just like you feel it. And honestly, without their strength, not only their support, but without their strength, we couldn't do what we do. We could. I mean, it'd be impossible. So.
Yeah, you're right. Are you like me? I get down, I lose a lot of weight and get in great shape before the season, and then as the season goes,
All right.
especially when we get a good playoff run going, my weight shoots out the gate because all that late night
Oh
McDonald's
yeah,
and all that stuff. All right, question
definitely.
number 3. What are the 3 best things you do to build culture in your program?
Yeah. You know, first thing I think you got to do is you got to be upfront day one with all the stakeholders. And we talked about that just a minute ago, but that's your parents, that's your teachers, that's the kids, that's the student body, That's the band director, that's the superintendent, that's the business. I mean, all the stakeholders, you got to be upfront about what your program is and what you're about and who you are. And then, the next thing is, I know a lot of people, and I do too, have mission statements, but before that, I feel like I have to have a vision statement of what I'm seeing, or what is gonna. And I stole a lot of the, I didn't reinvent the wheel here. I stole a lot of tidbits from a lot of different people, but we came up with, we wanted to build a hand on the line culture. And when I say hand on the line culture, I honest to goodness stole this from old school coaches making us put our hand on the line and run 40s after practice. And then it probably was 8 or 10 or 12 40s. It felt like 100 40s. It felt like a million 40s. But I can remember being a walk on at Georgia Southern, and it felt like a million 40s because the scholarship guys, they didn't have to do that stuff. But if you didn't have your hand on the line, you wish you did the next time. But the thing I stole from that was that they didn't want your hand behind the line or an inch in front of the line. If I can't trust you to put your hand on this line, it's something that simple and that, then I can't trust you to do the big things. So we came up with, we wanted to build a hand on the line culture. And it's all about that trust. It takes time to build trust, but you can lose that trust in an instant with somebody. So, I mean, that's how precious that is. That's how valuable that is. And we want to be that hand on the line in the good and the bad. So, just more than anything, we want a program. We want a culture to keep saying keep hitting the same thing, but we want something that can be trusted. And of course, everybody does the leadership stuff. Everybody has the captains meetings, and there's a ton of good stuff out there. A ton. I mean, you can get any kind of book, anything off the internet you want. But I've got a few things I just wrote down here that were some of my favorites I've done. And I think they work too, but were some of the most fun things. It wasn't laborsome. They were fun. They were actually, not only were they rewarding, they were fun to do. I look forward to having these things and doing these things. And one of my favorite things to do is we have Mom's Morning Out. And it's right there before the season starts, right after the first game, right there at the beginning, when everybody's still in the honeymoon state. And you bring the moms in on a Saturday morning. And you're going to feed them and talk to them and make them feel good about things, but you want to reassure mama that you're going to take care of her baby, because this is a rough game out there. It is. And you're going to build that trust with that mom, and you want to tell that mom, you're not setting up there, mama, as a regular paying customer. You're not you're not a fan, so to speak. I mean, you're one of us. That's you out there. That's your flesh and blood out there. And, we'll do a bunch of silly, we'll have the trainer come in, talk about hydration and different things. I brought counselors in before to talk about grades and being eligible. I brought administration in before, but we'll do some silly things with them too. Like we'll take them through the weight room and we'll try to get them to lift weights or something silly with us. And they're always amazed how clean and neat and order, and the weight room doesn't stink. And then the next thing we do is we take them into the locker room, and there every year the new moms are just overwhelmed with, wait a minute, his room doesn't look like this. Show me, where's my baby's locker? And we'll let them go sit in their son's locker, and they are just overwhelmed on how clean, neat, everything's in the same spot with the same kid. And we'll walk them through the bathroom. How clean, how every toilet's flushed, every sink's, it's a part of our culture to take care of our house. And we teach men that's important. And they're just overwhelmed with the fact that this is my baby. Wait a minute, he does, and it just wins them over instantly. We've even had some moms, we always ask them, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, to put their son's gear on, and it's just a fun time. And it breaks down those barriers because, you know, I'm no longer coach, you know, I'm one of them. I'm a parent with them, and we have a good time. And you know, the coaches bring their wives in, so I think that lets down the guard a little bit too. But you know, when you win mama over, it's just you know, magic. Um, Another one of my favorite things to do is having the mom's night and the dad's night at the games. And you know, I've caught some flack before on this, where you bring the moms into the locker room or the dads in the locker room before the game. They're wearing the son's jersey, things like that. And I've caught some flack before, and I really had to sit down and think about it. That, well, what about these kids that don't have the mom, or where's their dad, or this, you know? And I think it's special either way, because always have some community members there. You know, Joe, I'm sure your wife's had to step in before on a senior night. I know mine has, you know, and it breaks your heart. It does. It does. Man, I know that kid must be hurting, but what it tells that kid is somebody loves me. Somebody's going to step up and fill the gap in this family, you know, in this family right here, in this football family. And we always have community guys or community moms there. We have teachers there. Nobody's going to be left alone. So all the, you know, those kids know that dad ain't going to show up or mom ain't going to show up. But at the same time, they know, well, in this family, though, somebody's going to stand on that line with me. So
Yeah.
I really feel
Let
like
me jump in on
those
that
things are
one.
special.
Let me jump in on that one. I always, you know, my wife Abby, you know, that to me that was always a high honor, and that was only I
Mm-hmm.
didn't let any other anyone else take that spot. That was Abby's job, and she was always ready on senior
Mm-hmm.
night to jump in there. And luckily sometimes, you know, right before they had to go on, the parents showed up. They were just late, and they got to
Mm-hmm.
tag out and switch. But
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me, I mean, that was a high honor to have your wife be able to
Oh,
step
yeah.
in on that night and play
Yeah.
a role, because
Like
that's what family does.
well, that's what I was getting at. It sure is embarrassing. I'm sure you heard, but right. You're what does family do? You know, we all got that sister-in-law, brother-in-law that right now we're so ticked off at him. But if he called, I'm gonna drop everything. I'm going, you know, because that's family. And I think that's what it says in this family, in this program. You know, we're not gonna leave you alone. We're always here. So I think that's huge. You know, we've done what we call box games before. We get a shoe box and pass it around, and we have a topic or a theme or something. It's, you know, who would you go to war for? You know, or who would you play this game for? Or write somebody's name on here that's special in your life and why. And we'll put it down. I mean, we'll tape it up where nobody can see it, and we'll make a big deal about it and put it on the sideline. We write the date on it, and we would write the why on there or something, you know, is what it was about. And it's just a goofy little thing right there, but that little box with those scraps of paper bonds all those kids together, reinforcing who we are and why we're all in this thing together. So
Are they are
that
they
that's a
putting, are they putting the name of a player on there, or like someone in their life?
we've done
Someone.
it we've done it both ways. We've done it. Who would you go to war for tonight? Who would go to war for you? Or we've done it for, you know, some special person, like you said, special person in your life, or we've centered it around like a current event that was going on in our country, or you know, you can do it with in those, and you stacking boxes up in your locker room, you know, never to be opened kind of thing, because that's your, and we tell them that's not, you know, pencil and paper in there. That's your heart in there. You know, that's the person in there. It's the soul. And it just, it, that little bit, you know, goofy little shoe box. The biggest thing is finding an old shoe box sometime, but you know, it's huge. I mean, it's just magic.
I
So
love that. I'm stealing that one, brother. That's fantastic.
I've been reading, and I'm sure you have too, some stuff, Randy Jackson stuff, and he put some things in perspective for me. And I made a few notes here. He talked about that we as coaches get to see things that, you know, that the mere mortals don't get to see. You get to go in that huddle and see a kid's eyes, and I knew that. You know, I knew that. That's just huge to me. That's different, you know. That's why I think those things are so special. So, I think the biggest thing we do, whatever we try to do, is making sure we're spending time outside of football with kids and coaches as well. And that can be anything. Everybody likes to eat. I like to eat. I think one of my favorite things to ever have done with the kids is we took our seniors paintballing one time, and the coaches, we were all over there. We're gonna kill these kids. We're gonna these old. They absolutely took pride in destroying, and they talk about it to this day. Um, Taking them to eat, and taking them to a buffet. It's not that big 300-pound lineman. It's that skinny kid nobody knows that winds up eating 27 pieces of pizza or something. And it's just anything like that to, enforce your core principles. And it's not, I don't think it's rocket science. It's time, you know, and just, hitting on it here. And I actually stole a lot of these ideas from you. You got to have that core principle daily, Monday through Friday, that you hit, in the off season in the weight room. And I think you hit it in the weight room and on the field during the season. And whatever they are, ours are attitude, toughness, leadership, discipline, family. But whatever they are, I think you're reinforcing those daily, and that's huge. Another good idea that we came up with that absolutely costs nothing is we have real life Wednesdays. So once the season gets going, and everybody's Wednesday's a little bit different, so you have a minute or two here or there, is we're going to bring a speaker in. It could be anybody from the community, anybody, and they can talk about anything but football that's real in their life. And it's just been overwhelming that some of the things that people have brought to us, you can't even imagine. That just, it's hard to go out and practice. You want to get it's kind of like the altar call at the end of church or something. Some days, it's too much. But having those kids seeing adults come in and share with them something that's real, I mean, we can't just throw them in the real world at 18 after they get diploma and say, all right, go get it. They have to, to have heard about it and been a part of it too. So I think anything where you're pouring into the kid is great. It's no magic pill. I think it's just time and love and reinforcing those core principles that you've set forth for your program. So
That's fantastic, man. I love your shoebox idea. I'm going to steal that one. I think we're going to call it the war chest. And I love that.
I just said it's a box. We said we're gonna have a box game, so it's something that simple.
Yeah. And then I remember the paintball deal. I got a story. We did the paintball deal back at one time, and so I was at a different school and we were doing it, and I learned my lesson from the time we did it. And so me and the coach that was going with me, we went to equipment room and we put every piece of equipment you could. We had girdles on, we had the quarterback vest on, we had everything we could, the spider pads. We put everything we could put on there, and of course, somehow them little paintballs had eyes because they only hit me in spots that weren't covered. And you remember the bruises those things leave. So I tried to cheat, but I couldn't outsmart them. All right, man.
Yeah.
Next one, and this should be gold now. 30-year veteran, been a head coach, assistant head coach, O coordinator, D coordinator, coached every position. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first got started?
Well, I guess we could say everything, but with all seriousness, it's more than a game. It's much more than just some guys running around hollering and screaming and sweating and running into each other. It's so much more than what, like I said, the average eye sees. Early on, I knew I loved everything about the game. I've played since I was 6 years old. I mean, I got some newspaper clippings somewhere from way back. Um, I knew I loved everything about it. Always loved that smell of the grass and the lines on the field. They still intrigue me. Seeing that fresh painted field, and I love the uniforms. Love looking back at old uniforms. I've got some old helmets in my house, some old pads in my house that we found, off that were supposedly used in the 30s and 40s in the NFL. I love looking up other teams' masks. I love all the goofy stuff about. I love that smell, that terrible smell of the locker room. That after practice. I love the grind. I love, and I know I take a beat for this. I love going to camp because that's where you get your stories. You know, that's you remember that one time, or what old so and so. I love the fact that pretty much every year that I get dehydrated to the point I got to get an IV because I'm coaching. I'm getting into it now. I love falling asleep watching film. I love Sunday meetings. I love digging into the film. I love getting on the board. I love running down between classes and saying, "Hey, I drew this up, coach. What about this?" Um, so I knew I loved the game and everything about it. But it's so different. I had a mother and a father at home, and if the church doors open, we were there. So we had Christian values. We had food on the table. We had clothes on the back. They had jobs. We had stability. We had a nice house. Um, you know, and I think about that. What football gave me an opportunity. Although all kids, especially teenagers, all kids, we all searching and looking for whatever. So football gave me an opportunity to live out those values and those qualities that were being hammered home at the home. Because like I've heard you say, the same qualities that build great men build great football players. So it gave me an opportunity to work those out in through football before I had to get into the real world and real world situations, real world consequences. So it was if nothing else, it was a chance to reinforce a constant in my life, and it gave me a chance. And I think all young men need this, to live out that warrior that's in you. And it just gave me the avenue to be who I thought I was supposed to, or who I am supposed to be. But when I think about that now, how many kids have that now? I mean, 30 years ago you had some that didn't, but now it's bad out there. So, honestly, most of them don't have what I had coming up. And so I think it's even more important now that, football coaches and maybe the military might be the last stop, for those young men. And I was just thinking back to what I said about Randy Jackson, and he talked about looking in the huddle, looking in their eyes in the huddle. And I think the huddle means when you're driving the sled. I think it means on game night. I think it means in the weight room. I think it means in the locker room. I do think it means in the huddle. But you and I get to see things and be a part of something that's so awesome that the other people don't get to. They don't get to see that look when that kid just got his behind handed to him. And you got to look in his eyes and say, you got this. It's all right. Get up. They don't get to see looking at when that kid just 3 seconds ago scored that touchdown. It's an hour before mama can get to him and hug him, or I made that blocker. I made that tackle. They're not in that locker room when you're up big. They're not in that locker room when you're down big, and you got to, guys, I don't know if you noticed or not, but we got to go back out there. It's going to be a rough one. And that is so awesome. And, I talked about a little while ago, my son, he's a sophomore, and he actually got to play a lot of varsity this year. So there was some of them times where I got to look around and look in his eye. And I, I I don't have the vocabulary to describe that. That's unlike, I've pretty much known him since birth, but I hadn't been able, we hadn't shared that before. And it just, I think of one game we had called a timeout and he came to the side and just whole arm was covered in blood. And I was wiping it off with my shirt and the trainer was, kind of scolding me, but kind of laughing. And I said, he's my son. I get to do this, it's, but all the kids are like that, right? I mean, we get to share those times. We get to share those moments that, I don't know. I do. Do other people get to have them moments? I mean, that's just powerful to me. I mean, I get to have those moments with, I think about the coaches I've been with over the years, you know, um, when you and I were talking earlier, um, I could call some guys up right now and they would come running. I mean, that's just, that the bond is just unbreakable, but that is the definition of family. That is what family is. So, I mean, I just, this game has just meant so much and been so much a part of my life. It's just, I couldn't describe it without it. So,
That's awesome, brother. I when I'm speaking at a clinic, sometimes I say we're the lucky ones. We're the lucky
mhm,
ones that we get to do this, and we get to
definitely.
do it over and over and over again. And
Hmm.
and there's
Definitely.
that video, that country song video where the coach says, other people get that feeling, but it only comes every once in a while. When someone gets married
Hmm.
or when you have a baby.
Hmm.
But we get it
Yeah.
every Friday night, so we're the lucky ones.
Uh,
All right, you
but
did fantastic. Go ahead.
that's that's true. I mean, that I can't say enough how that's it. That's, if you want, if you want to drill down, that's it right there. So,
Well, brother, you did fantastic. I sure appreciate you coming on and doing this. We got our last question. I know people are going to want to be able to contact you, so can you give us your contact information? Do you have anything you want to promote? And then you have the last word.
okay. Yeah, a couple things on the contact info on Twitter. I'm at Coach PM Richards, at Coach PM Richards on Twitter. One thing I do want to throw out there, Joe, I'm going to launch a YouTube channel here in the next week or so. Of course, I've done some things on your channel, but in the next week or so, I'm going to launch a YouTube channel about 3-5 defense. Coach Phillip Richards, 3-5 defense. And the thing is I mean, I'm going to talk mostly defense, but I've talked to a lot of guys. We can talk special teams. We can talk O line. We can talk weight room. I've talked. Um, I got a wrestling coach that's going to talk about the benefits of wrestling. You know how it helps football players. Anything that can help us uh, with these young men, I welcome to be on that channel. So if you'll be on the lookout for that in the next week or so.
Now I
But
want
really,
to
what I want.
hold on. I want to take some credit for this one now because I've been on you for about a year to do this. You got so much
Yeah.
knowledge, and you're such a great
Mhm.
defensive guy, and obviously a great leader. And I'm so excited that you're doing this. And we're going to kind of do on my channel. We're going to do a kickoff on Tuesday. I know you already got videos up there, but man, it's you got to share what you know. You do such a fantastic job, just old school, simple, hard nosed defensive football. And I know you fancy it up now, call it a 3-5, but I'm super excited that you're starting this
Yeah.
thing, man. I've been pestering you for a year now to get one started. and
Right.
and I'm
Right.
super glad that you're launching this thing, and I know it's going to be fantastic. I know it's going to help a lot of people, which is basically what these channels are about, is just helping other
Mhm.
people. So
Right.
sharing your knowledge is
Right.
going to be a great deal, and I'm really excited about it. All right, so last
And
word.
I am too. I am too, and I appreciate the encouragement. And it's a brotherhood and it's a fraternity, and I think we got to all be in that thing together. And of course, we're all super competitive, but like I said, we're all in it together. But I said it's going to be about defense, and the thing I would like to talk about, and on the channel or anytime, and what I like to talk about, is the game and how it's more than a game, and what it means to not only to us but to these young men, and what an honor it is for us to be a part of. I think it's a privilege for us to be out there with those young people. I think it's an honor. I think we have a responsibility, and it's just when you stop and you slow down and you think about it, it's almost overwhelming. What's on your shoulders when you're out there getting to be a part of those young people's lives. I feel like and you and I have talked about this a lot of times. I feel like I've been blessed, and the blessings were placed on me, not to say look at me, but to be able to bless others. And um, that's what it's about, and the old men raising the young men. And back I think about like I said a minute ago, my son being out there, but all those guys, that's somebody's son. That's somebody's flesh and blood. And I'm going to coach them, treat them, want, hope, love, scold them, discipline them, just like it's my son out there. And well, I just think about what a great tool we have through the game of football to build those young men, to build those champions, to be a part of their lives. And that's not going to go away. That's not going to be, you and I probably couldn't name a score from 20 years ago, but I bet you got a story right now you could come up with, or you can name a kid, you know. So I just, as much as y'all want to talk about defense or offense, but let's talk about young men and building character too. So that's the real goal.
Well, you did fantastic, brother. I sure do appreciate you doing this. Uh, brought back a lot of memories, and really gonna steal a bunch of your ideas there. But I can just tell you now in front of everybody, you're one of the best coaches I've ever had the opportunity to coach with. Unparalleled work ethic, heart for kids, and I always was just so impressed how hard you got kids to work in the weight room and how much they loved you. I used to call you the Pied Piper because even though you were busting their tails in there, you just made true believers out of them. And and that's a gift. That's a gift from God. That you just got that.
No, it's definitely not me.
Well, it's
Definitely not me. You're right.
but I think he gifted you because you could. I've never seen anyone pull so much hard work out of kids and just make them believers, and just the process of working hard, and it was just always impressive. It was really awe inspiring to see you in the weight room and working with kids, and man, I appreciate you doing this. This will be on this coming Saturday, and then the following Tuesday we'll do the YouTube deal and kick off your channel. But brother, I sure do appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you for having me.